Engine threats lurk around every corner. Stay ahead of gunk corrosion and wear with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. The best total engine protection you can get. Protect your car with a breakthrough in premium gasoline today.
The journey to the tourney brings us to Louisville for an ACC showdown. Where the 16th-ranked Cardinals face 11th-ranked Virginia. Coverage begins Saturday at 12:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio. This morning on Mike and Mike.
In watching Cam Newton interacting with his teammates love him. They follow him. He is a leader.
Kudos to Ron Rivera, the job he's done there, because it's easy in that situation for it to seem like, maybe the locker room could be out of control with guys having that much fun and being that relaxed. But it's a very dialed-in group, and that always starts from the top down.
A professional athlete knocking the snot out of an official. That was a vicious hit.
There was nothing unintentional about this. This was as deliberate can be.
It's time for Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Golic Jr., I'm Ian Fitzsimmons, in for Senior and Greeny here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and the ESPN app, presented by Progressive Insurance. Let me go ahead and get this in before he does. We are now joined by a Super Bowl champion. My man's wicked smart, and he is the pride of
Archbishop Shaw High School, Marrero, Louisiana. I got to fix my thing. Okay, now we're ready. Now we're good to go.
He's ready. The reason that every time I see Clark, he gives me that. Remember 1987? Archbishop Shaw defeated whom?
You know what the thing is?
Go ahead.
You know what the thing is, though? Every other class or every other team that went to Shaw, that played for Shaw, was compared to that team. But that wasn't the best team. There were a ton of teams more talented than that one. That was just the one that beat Covington and won the championship. So for me, it's always a letdown. Like, I don't even like that team. I probably dislike that team as much as you dislike that team. I went there to win the state championship. I was bounced every year at about the third round. So you're not the only one that holds a grudge against that team. But I can say that my school beat your family school. And to moms, listen, we still love you.
It drives
don't be
Mama
mad at
Fitz
Ian
every single time you take the dig, man. Every single time. All right, you have some very interesting thoughts on Cam Newton and what Cam Newton had to say about why he is perceived one way and, as Charles Barkley said, disliked because of the color of his skin. Before we get your thoughts, in case you missed it, here is the quarterback of the Super Bowl-bound Carolina Panthers talking about his perception. Here's the quarterback of the Panthers, Cam Newton.
I don't think people have seen, what I am or what I'm trying to do. And I said that prior to me being in this situation. But when I said it then, he's immature, he's young, he's this, that, and the third. It's like I felt a certain type of way then. I feel the same type of way now. Nothing's pretty much changed. They talk about maturity with me. They talk about skill set with this team. Nobody has changed. It's been the same Ted Ginn that was drafted by the Miami Dolphins. You know what I'm saying? The same Jericho Cotchery, the same Philly Brown, the same Cam Newton. Nothing's changed, but the only thing that's changed is that we're winning. And I've said it since day one. I'm an African-American quarterback that may scare a lot of people because they haven't seen nothing that they can compare me to. Oftentimes, and it's funny, I get inspired, make me go out there and practice even harder because I remember when I was, working out for the draft and I would see the Senior Bowl playing and I see these guys out there busting their tails trying to get drafted, try to have a job to provide for their family or themselves. And it's like, here I am. I'm doing exactly what I want to do, how I want to do it. And when I look in the mirror, it's me. You know what I'm saying? Nobody changed me. Nobody, made me act this certain type of way. And I'm true to my roots. And it feels great. But yet, people are going to say whatever they want to say. And if I'm in this world living for that person, this person going to say this person going to say that, then I can't look at myself and say I'm Cam Newton or I'm Cameron Newton to most people. Because I'm not. Because I'm living for you.
Ryan Clark, your reaction?
First of all, I liked it. I thought it was very well said by Cam. I thought he made his points in a way that was easy to understand, in a way that was easy to accept. Here's the problem. He's actually wrong, though.
Explain.
Here's why he's wrong. Now, and it's always touchy, especially, I'm a black analyst, and so when we come to the defense of black players and we speak about race, everybody always thinks it's about racism. This isn't about racism. He's not disliked because he's brown skinned. He's disliked because it's culturally hard to understand for most people. See, for many years, if you look at the black quarterbacks that were accepted, it wasn't about skill set, right? We saw Randall Cunningham play very much like this. The plays weren't called for him, but he played very much like this. Russell Wilson is a brown quarterback, but Russell Wilson's culture is easier to understand. Russell Wilson doesn't dance. Russell Wilson doesn't have the hip-hop culture. Young Jeezy and Future aren't going to Russell Wilson games. So for the Caucasian fan, for the fan who doesn't understand that culture, Cam Newton's culture is too young hip-hop, too young brown, right? Because Aaron Rodgers, so we were less offended. Listen, I've been around all these quarterbacks. I was having a talk with a 10-year vet of the NFL, his wife. He's a quarterback in the NFL. And the first thing she said about when Cam Newton won, he just rubs me the wrong way, and I don't know why. And so I had to sit here and have this conversation with
What'd
this
you tell
woman.
her?
I told her, I said, well, here's why he rubs you the wrong way. I said, because you don't understand it. Because for so many years, black quarterbacks didn't have to conform to a way of playing quarterback. They had to conform to a way of behavior. See, Russell Wilson's easier to take because every time he gets on the mic, he speaks about God. You don't see him dance because I've been around Russell Wilson in a setting where you're supposed to dance, and he has no rhythm. Right? And
Looks like me? Is that what you're trying to say?
And so here it is, right? So it was less offensive to people, and it was less arrogant when Aaron Rodgers was discount double-checking, when he threw 40 touchdowns and we had to see it 57 million times on his MVP run, and he's thrusting his pelvis. That's okay. But Cam dance,
Why?
and it hurts our sensibilities because because people don't understand the culture. Cam's not hated because he's a super athlete. Cam's disliked because he hasn't conformed to what we believe quarterback should be. He's true to who he is. You know why Cam dances? Because he can dance, right? And so when Gronkowski gets into the end zone and he tries to dance, and it looks really crazy, and there's no rhythm to it, and he's doing all these things that we love when he does, and he spikes the ball all hard. It's cool because people can relate to that. The old school fan, the white man sitting on his sofa, the white lady with her child who said she'd rather watch the cheerleaders. I don't know what parenting book she read, but said she'd rather watch the cheerleader than watch Cam do that. They're all arrogant. They all have ego. That's why they're so dang good. But because we've never seen a player like Cam, we've never seen a player in that position embrace where he's from, the culture, not feel like he has to change it to be accepted. And so now it's different. We love our cornerbacks to act that way, right? We love our receivers to act that way. But now it's a quarterback. It's supposed to be the face of our franchise. I don't know the last time y'all checked. There's nobody that looks like me that owns a team. Right? And so when you look at a face of the franchise, it usually comes down from the top and says, I picked this guy because of his behavior to lead my team. I'm comfortable with him. Cam's just so dang good that he doesn't have to change that. And so it's not that they look at him and say, oh, you're brown, I have an issue with you. It's that they don't understand the culture. And when we don't understand stuff, it intimidates us. So people can't even articulate why they don't like him. But I'm not going to turn this into race and say they don't like him because he's black. They don't like his culture. They don't like what he embodies, what he embraces. It's not right for that position, but he's winning and is right for that team. So we all need to just get over it and just even stop having this conversation or making him have to answer it, because every time he has to answer it, we have to talk about it, and it's going to be more picked apart, and then it just brings race into this thing where it's not so much race this time, it's culture.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head with pretty much everything you said right there. And it is, I think, like you said, not bringing race to it, but it's as much about that generation gap too. Because I think, I'm 26. This is stuff that I've grown up around for a while now, being in locker rooms and being around guys, like you said, that can dance, that can do all these things. And so when you're used to seeing it, it's much less of a shock. But for people, again, maybe that older generation that's, that more of that, hand the ball to the ref type generation, it's a culture shock right now. And that's why it's so hard for people to pinpoint what exactly they're mad at, because they see it from, like you said, the white quarterbacks, the Tom Brady's, the Aaron Rodgers, the guys that we laud as fiery. We say they're fiery competitors. But when a guy does the thing that Cam does, all of a sudden we scratch our head because it's not that much different. But why are we upset?
But look, how much of it is also this? Because I love what you just said. I mean, and look, it makes 100% complete sense. And I said this earlier when I had the Falcons and Panthers, and week 15, when the Panthers just beat the bejesus out of them. I mean,
I love that word, by the way.
Smoked them, man.
I love that word.
They didn't want to beat them. They embarrassed them.
Yeah.
Now I know the Falcons came back and got one later on, but still, he handed them their only loss of the season. But watching his teammates react to him, watching those fans react to him, his teammates follow him. They love him. They don't mind the antics one bit. The fans embrace it, and that's really all that matters. I mean, if you're a Carolina fan, that's all you care about. If you're in that locker room, that's all you care about. But let me ask you this. How much, let's say, to Don in New York, right, who's a Giants fan or a Jets fan, does the laptop at Florida or the whole $180,000 to Mississippi State thing, how much does that also play into the image of Cam Newton, or do they not even realize that was an issue?
I think people realize it, and I think it was part of the origin of the dislike for him. I think it also is a very convenient excuse for people. It's a real convenient thing to say, well, he did this with a computer, or, he was under investigation for his dad taking money, and his dad was basically shopping him around. First of all, it's a lot of them that get shopped around. Like, let's not make this a thing. This is
you
not
took a pay cut when you left LSU.
This is not a revolution. I wish. Dude, I was an undrafted free agent. I drove a pink truck in college that my parents gave me. We called it the Pink Panther. It was so bad. It started as an automatic. By the time I left, I had to stick shift it. I had to start in like second, and I had to get into overdrive just so I could go the minimum speed limit on the highway to drive home to see my mama. Shoot, I wish. But don't be confused either. It's because he's really good. You know what I mean? Like, it's really good. Like, he's really good. If he quarterbacked in New York, guess what? Don from New York would be hyped. He'd be hyped every Sunday. He'd have on a Cam Newton jersey, and he'd be trying to dab and do all kind of other stuff, and he'd be doing the Superman pose because he would be on his team. He's one of those people that it's easier to dislike him. It just is. And it's been, and I went to LSU, and shoot, I could stand him for a year. But you rooted for him because you saw all these things he had to handle. And some of them are self-inflicted. It's not like this guy has just been attacked by everyone for no reason. But when you talk about not liking him, disliking him, or having a grudge against him, people have no basis for it. I'm sure many of the people who don't like him now don't even remember that stuff. Like, they weren't even a part of it. They weren't following it when it happened. But now, since he's a superstar and since he's different and you have to see him constantly, we're trying to find reasons to not like Cam Newton. And because he took a computer or because he may have gotten money to go to school, that has nothing to do with the here and the now. This is a world of tolerance. We tolerate everything. You can't – I get a list of things I can't say on here every week. Almost.
They give them to me every day.
Right. Well, you need them, bro. Yes. And so to use those things to not like them is just an excuse because you don't have a real reason.
Yeah, they're red herrings. They're things that kind of throw you off the scent of what's really going on at this point. Like Ryan said, because none of it's relevant, especially in today's faux outrage culture where we get upset about something and then the next day we've forgotten about what we're upset about because we've already moved on to the next fake, phony thing that we're upset about. and so really to say that someone's held on to a grudge that long, there will always people that will be that petty, that will go back to that. And again, try and use that as something to throw people off the scent of why they really don't like Cam.
He's the ultimate guy. And reaction from both of you guys who have played the game at a high level. Is he not that player that if he's on your team, you love? But if he's not on your team, you just can't stand because he is so stinking good and flamboyant.
Well, he made me retire because when I saw him, I was like, shoot, if they're making quarterbacks like this.
Hey, before we hear from Ron Rivera, tell that story. I think you were in a preseason game. You've told me this before.
I was like, man. So me, Troy and I, and this is the last preseason game. So Troy and I are warming up, and Cam comes running out on the field. He looks at me. I look at him. We both say, it's about over, bro. This is it. And he's running. And I don't know why Coach T made me play that game. He didn't make Troy play, but I had to play the first series. And Cam breaks.
Troy Polamalu,
and Cam breaks out the pocket. And I'm legitimately running up to him kind of slow because I was like, bro, just slide. You're the first pick of the draft. There's no need for us to have this collision. Just slide. And he slid in front of me, and I jumped over him and made it look like I really wanted to hit him, but I didn't. And we left that night. I called home. I said, babe, it's a wrap. I said, it's over, man. I said, they're making these quarterbacks like giants. They running all fast. I'm like, I'm done. I was like, man, start looking at
church. Time to punch out.
I say, man, start looking at the benefits. See what we gonna get.
See, I had a different vantage point in that game. That was my last preseason game in Pittsburgh, and I was one of those rookie guys playing in the fourth quarter of that game. So I saw Cam over on the sideline, and that was when I started to realize maybe football wasn't for me. I think we were playing a different. Me and him were playing a different sport altogether at that point.
Like that guy's as big as I am, and he's a quarterback.
Yeah, you don't stare eye to eye with that many quarterbacks that you look at, and you kind of see the build on you. Go, all right, you can block for me. I don't know if this works the other way around, man.
But Ryan Clark, Mike Golic Jr., I'm Ian Fitzsimmons, in for Senior and Greeny here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and the ESPN app. Ron Rivera was asked yesterday, what makes his quarterback so good? Here's the head coach of the Carolina Panthers.
I think people should be scared of a quarterback with his skill set more so than anything else. I mean, that's who he is. He's a tremendously gifted athlete, a terrific quarterback, a smart football player. I mean, the list goes on and on. That's who you should be concerned with more so than anything else. And I know that's one of the things that he's always strived to is to get that separation. I don't think he wants to be known as an African-American quarterback. I think he wants to be known as a quarterback, and a great one at that. And I think that's what drives him.
He is a great quarterback. He is, in my opinion, the MVP of the National Football League. That man you just heard or saw on ESPN2, Ron Rivera, head coach of the Carolina Panthers, will join us right here on Mike and Mike, coming up at 8:30 Eastern Time, 5:30 Pacific. So, segueing into the game, Ryan, your thoughts on how you defend Cam Newton if you are the NFL's number one and top-ranked defense in the Denver Broncos. How do you try and stop him?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's good you get a Sunday off before the game. You can go to church. You can say the prayers that are needed for,
And by the way, you're saying this with a straight face, man.
I'm dead serious. You do the same thing that any great man has to do before he does remarkable feats. Do you think that Moses parted the Red Sea without prayer first? No. He needed to pray to get the Israelites across that thing, man. And that's not just playing. I'm just playing. Okay.
I was waiting on that, man. Like, is he going to crack, or is he just going to continue?
Really impressive.
That was Appreciate it, guys.
I mean, that was well done.
Well, here's the good thing about Denver's D. When you just look at it on paper, ever since Kelvin Benjamin got hurt, we started to try to figure, okay, how are the Carolina Panthers going to produce points? And even though Cam has made these wide receivers better, we don't consider them elite wide receivers. When I look at Roby, Chris Harris Jr., Talib, I consider that group and two of those players to be elite defenders. So you feel like on the back end, you can hold up. You feel like you can cover Funchess and you can cover Kotchery and you worry about getting deep. But other than that, you feel like you can cover those guys up. The key is the rush. Can Von Miller still create the same pressure with having to worry about Cam Newton escaping the pocket? Do you have to use Marshall in the middle to kind of spy on Cam at different times? The difference between defending Cam and, defending the New England Patriots is the threat of the run game. So they have to be able to stop the run, but also rush the passer with the consciousness to keep Cam Newton in the pocket. And this team is built to do it when you look at them on the back end, though. If you get a healthy Stewart or you get a healthy Ward back, I think that helps you. But this team has to find a way to lock up on the back end and stop the run, rush the passer with integrity and with the lane responsibility to keep Cam in the pocket. And that's the only way you have a chance. The tough part about that is now we've seen him make plays from the pocket. So it's a daunting task, but when you have DeMarcus Ware, when you have Von Miller on the outside, this team is built to do it. They just have to implement a game plan and execute it.
And really, I guess the part of it that's so different for me, and we saw it when a lot of these more mobile quarterbacks started coming into the league. everyone got enamored with that read option, the zone read, thought it was going to be the next wave, and slowly NFL defensive coordinators kind of started to weed that out. But it's still a great wrinkle that Seattle and I think Carolina use better than anyone else. And for a defender, we see the way it can freeze that backside end and linebacker. What do you have to do to try and, in your preparation, combat that, knowing that it's coming and doing the best you can to stop it?
Well, the hardest thing about it in the NFL is it's not a steady diet of it, which means it's not a steady diet week to week, and it's also not a steady diet in the game. And if you look at Carolina, they run a ton of plays from the shotgun. Actually, most of their plays are ran from the shotgun. So everything looks the same when you're lining up. And it's not high school. You know, Archbishop Shaw, when we beat Covington in 1987, we were a veer team, and you knew it was coming. So you prepared all week. Who has the dive? Who's the backer that's going to take the quarterback? If they do have a pitch man because they motion a wide receiver in, who's the force guy on that? Well, when you're not playing that every game or you're not playing that every play, it's hard to figure it out. It's hard to know which one's a zone read and which plays a dive. And when you have guys like Von Miller, when you have guys like DeMarcus Ware who are attack, it's tough to prepare for those things. So they have 2 weeks to figure out their zone read option responsibilities. But when you miss, when you're not there, now you're chasing a quarterback who's bigger, faster, and stronger than most of the players chasing him.
The only good thing about all the digs you take at me about Archbishop Shaw and Covington is I actually didn't go to Covington. All my brothers did, so that's more of a shot at them. I got kicked out of the house. I went to boarding school at Georgetown Prep. So, hey, man, I got shipped out because I was a troublemaker. But, hey, I appreciate the constant shots to the Covington High Fighting Lions.
All for Mama Fitz, man.
How bad is Russell Wilson at dancing? You referenced that earlier for people just tuning in. How bad did it look?
It was bad, man. You've actually seen some Instagram videos when they go to Hawaii for, like, the team workcation and all that. But it was bad. And, you know, the thing about Russ, he's such a nice guy. You allow him to do it because he's a great player. He's a super sweetheart, fun to talk to. But when he started dancing, like, I just stopped because I didn't want people to have to compare us. You know, I was like, you know, I'm going to let him get his. You know, I'm going to let him enjoy himself. And I'm just going to stay right here with it. Just 2-step, stay right here. And now
like Will Smith and Hitch.
Yeah, and now we almost look alike. So people can't really notice that Russ can't dance.
That's very big of you.
Well, listen, Golic. You know, you were my teammate, you know, for a while, and you know, man, I'm about everyone. It's not about me. You know, like the reason I wear this suit, even though you guys get to dress like that, is because I want to bring us all up.
We need it. And let me tell you, if I fasted for 2 years, I couldn't fit in that suit.
I barely can fit in it.
Ron Rivera at 8:30 Eastern. Coming up next, bottom half of the hour, a man who has also won a Super Bowl. Brian Billick joins us right after this word from Bosch.
Did you know if you're driving and you can't see clearly at 1 second at 60 miles an hour, you can't see clearly for 88 feet? Weather is unpredictable this time of year. Heavy rain, sleet, snow, or hail can strike without warning and compromise your visibility on the road. Every player knows equipment is important. Make sure your car is the right equipment and upgrade to Bosch Icon wipers. Be prepared. Bosch Icon wiper blades are built to handle the most extreme weather conditions. Bosch created Icon with the ClearMax 365. It's rubber technology that protects the blade for longer-lasting performance not found in any other wiper, up to 40% longer than premium blades. Jim Cantor stands behind the Bosch Icon blades. Avoid unnecessary roughness on the road and upgrade your wipers with the Bosch Icon wiper blades. Get exclusive Bosch Beam technology for superior all-weather performance because, like you, Bosch cares about what's ahead. Visit Bosch88feet.com. We'll be right back. Mike.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
With Mike Golic Jr., I'm Ian Fitzsimmons, in for Senior and Greeny. Warriors beat the Mavericks 127-107. Golden State's 40th straight home win, tied for the second longest streak in NBA history. Spurs beat the Rockets 130-99. The San Antonio Spurs become the fifth team in NBA history to start a season 25-0 at home. And Novak Djokovic defeats Roger Federer in 4 sets, advancing to the Australian Open Finals for the 6th time in his career. SportsCenter is brought to you by Burger King.
Like burgers? Like chicken? I know I do. Well, then you'll love the new Flame Grilled Chicken Burger from Burger King. A flame grilled chicken patty topped with veggies on a toasted bun. And right now they're just 2 for $5. The new Flame Grilled Chicken Burger only at Burger King. Limited time only. Price and participation may vary.
Mike and Mike is presented by Progressive Insurance. Coming up, Ron Rivera, head coach Carolina Panthers, will join us at 8:30. Dominique Foxworth in studio at 8:45. Seth Greenberg, 9:30. And they all join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Ryan Clark, Super Bowl champion, in studio here with us till 9 o'clock. And joining us on that Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, he won a Super Bowl with the Baltimore Ravens, been around the league a long time now with the NFL Network. Our old friend Brian Billick joins us now here on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Coach, good morning. How are you?
Good morning to you guys.
First of all, when you hear the name Cam Newton, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
Oh, God, Avatar. I mean, this guy, if you were going to build an avatar of what the prototypical pro quarterback ought to look like, it's this guy. I don't think until you've actually met him face to face, people can appreciate just how big this guy is. I mean, he's huge, but it's so fluid, and is so easygoing in his manner, so confident. I mean, you have to remember, and I know there's a lot of debate about his approach to the game and is he arrogant and this, that, and the other. Cam Newton's been the best athlete at every sport, in every game, on every court, on every field he's ever been on since he was born. It's the only perspective he has. So, I think you have to keep that in mind as he goes about this march that he's on and the way he's producing.
You said the best athlete, and he's certainly, again, well used to that title. But for you this year, what's been the biggest difference and improvement you've seen in his game on the field?
Well, I think we saw both he and Russell Wilson mature as pocket quarterbacks. Until this game has always been and will be won by someone that can beat you from the pocket. Being outside the pocket's great. The perennial, or the proverbial, I should say. You don't want the athlete that can throw. You want the thrower that is an athlete. And I think they've evolved in that. They're supreme athletes, don't get me wrong. But they've matured within the offense of the National Football League to where even if they could not run around, they can beat you from the pocket. And in particular for Cam, his deep ball has gotten much better. He's very much a line-of-sight thrower. If he can see it, he'll put that thing on a laser beam. Wasn't the best at dropping in the deep ball or dropping that ball in that intermediate area in behind the linebackers in front of the safety. He is doing that now, and he's become a much more complete quarterback.
Coach, I know you say he's the prototypical body, but for what we've seen through history, he's not the prototypical quarterback. As an offense coordinator, as an offensive mind, what are the challenges in making sure you use his abilities and the things that he can do to help your team win games?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right bringing that up, because when I say the prototypical quarterback body, you say, okay, well, let's go get us a Cam Newton. Well, wait a minute. There's not a lot of cats like that running around, okay?
Right.
And it took the first overall pick to get him. The thing that's hard to deal, he's a +1, and by that I mean in the running game, a quarterback is useless, right? Because all he does is hand the ball off, checks you into the right run. But in their game, whatever scheme, no matter how you spread it out, and they love to spread it out into 3 wides and get that 5 or 6 man box. Now, typically, where the quarterback is wasted, you pick him up as a +1 because now the guy you normally hand off to is a lead blocker. Those little counter plays, let alone the read option that they run with it. The most unique thing about him is that quarterback counter that he runs. And nobody else does it like that, and that's a huge advantage for him. You've got to bring that guy down in the box just to account for the quarterback in the running game, and that's a huge advantage.
So if you're watching film, Coach, with the defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos and a darn good one in Wade Phillips, and you're trying to figure out a way to defend Cam in this offense, how do you do it?
Well, first of all, I pour me a big glass of Macallan's.
Coach, 18, 21?
No, you got to go to 25 if you're going to get ready.
Hey, Coach, my pocket's not like that yet, Coach. I'm working on it.
You're Macallan's. Good for you. Here's the difficulty, and we know that Denver, as brilliant as they've been defensively, and Wade Phillips has been absolutely brilliant in the way he's adapted his defense and whatever he's had to do to win the game. They're a little light. And the Carolina running game is so punishing. I mean, it's absolutely, they bludgeon you to death between the tackles. There's no pretense about it. They pound away with Jonathan Stewart, then they pound away with Mike Tolbert. And, oh, by the way, my quarterback's 245 pounds. I'm going to pound away with him as well. That undersized Denver defense, they're going to have to add that 5th and 6th guy into the box on a regular basis. And when you do that, and now that allows Cam Newton to play action fake, go one-on-one on the outside, and they match up pretty good. But as we just said, and as we saw, He's getting those big plays down the field. He has the time to let those receivers get the separation, no matter how good the coverage is, to come up with those big plays. So, we're going to see a change-up defense like we saw last week against Tom Brady. Everybody's talked about how they only did a handful of three-man rushes all year long, and they did at least that many last game. You're going to see a lot of variation. It's not just going to be, okay, we'll put 5-6 guys in the box, stop the run, and go man-to-man on the outside, because they'll tear that up pretty good.
And, Coach, on the other side, for that Denver offense, what's the matchup that you think is most critical for them going against a Carolina defense that's been great all year but is admittedly pretty banged up right now? Thomas Davis, trying to go, might not be 100% there. The secondary is being banged up, too, down the stretch here.
Well, and that's going to be the issue, obviously. As Denver goes at it, the hardest thing for Denver is, unlike what we've seen during the other playoffs, Carolina can get home with just a four-man rush. With Star Lotulelei and K'Wan Short in the middle, jamming up the middle and getting a pretty good pass rush, opening up those outside edges as well, that allows their secondary to kind of do what they want. They kind of have carte blanche in terms of the change-up zones. I would tell you what I noticed, and I just did a bunch of film breakdown for my week at the Super Bowl. Saw more of the linebackers for Carolina up and in and out of the A-gaps. In other words, what they're doing is forcing those one-on-one matchups with the offensive line, which is going to favor Carolina. It's a great run-stopping front. And then they do a lot of things from it. They'll step up into the A-gaps and drop out. Then they'll bring one guy. They actually dropped Star Lotulelei one time. They'll do a lot more things defensively with their front than we normally see from Carolina, because they're pretty good at just lining up four and coming at you that way.
Coach, as we get ready to turn you loose, I know you have a column up on NFL Network, on NFL.com, about advice for both Ron Rivera and Gary Kubiak, who are both coaching for the first time in Super Bowls as a head coach. The wait is got to be just almost nauseating. What advice do you have for those two head coaches going into their first Super Bowl as head coaches?
Well, there's a lot. Mostly the article focuses on this week, this bye week, which is like no other week that you have. And it's different than for these two teams because neither one of them played in the wild card. We played in the wild card, so by the time we got to the bye week of the Super Bowl, we were exhausted. But you spend the early part of the week getting all the minutia out of the way. We had a cadre of organizational people for the players, their wives, their aunts, their uncles, their moms and dads, to make sure that the tickets, the hotel, the travel, the meals, get that all out of the way. And then our practices the latter part of the week, we literally were a little more than walkthroughs. We needed the rest. Now, these guys, I don't know that they'll quite do that. We installed the game plan. The one bit of advice I got from everybody, and the best one was from Dan Reeves. Dan Reeves spent an hour with me on the phone telling me how to approach it. And he said, but as a head coach, I'm 0-4, so just do the opposite of everything I just told you. But we mentally, we were prepared to play Sunday night before the Super Bowl and did virtually nothing physically. So then we actually got down to the week of the Super Bowl. You don't keep changing the game plan. That shows you that you're a little bit panicked. And we actually had some pretty physical practices leading up to the game because we'd used that week and a half to basically rest ourselves.
Coach, and I know you're also working with SeatGeek.com for the Super Bowl. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge game. It's the 50th anniversary of the Super Bowl. Anybody that's interested in tickets, and obviously you know that it goes up and down during the week. If you go to SeatGeek.com, phenomenal site, easiest app in the world, because Super Bowl tickets, as you know, it's like playing the stock market. They're at a certain price now. They'll change during the course of the week. You'll see what tickets are available. You'll see what the view is. You'll be able to monitor the fluctuation in price, and most importantly, every seat on SeatGeek is guaranteed, so you know that seat's going to be there for you. A great way to take on this or any other game that you're interested in seeing.
Coach, we always enjoy it. We'll see you in San Francisco. Thank you so much for joining us here on Mike and Mike.
Sounds good, guys.
Brian Billick, Super Bowl winning head coach, NFL Network, here with us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Good advice as far as I can't imagine. You've gone through it. The wait this week, the 2 weeks, has got to just crawl.
It's pretty slow, but for us, it was just fun. Like the whole thing of it, because we were just such a close team, especially defensively. We just had a good time with it. And, I don't have the vocab that Coach has, to talk about the padre of people or get all the minutia out of the way. I was like super impressed. I forgot half of what he said.
I thought you were just still taking it back about the McKellen 25.
My goodness,
that's a whole topic.
That was Coach is fire. But for me, it was about like enjoying the process. Coach Tomlin would always just talk about the journey. because he's like, the destination is going to be there. You're going to end up where you end up. So we just try to enjoy the journey. We try to enjoy practices, and there were so many different pictures of us just hanging out, having a good time. And the day before the Super Bowl, we all got to bring a family member. The first Super Bowl, my son came for every Saturday walkthrough. And so he broke us down for the first game, and Coach Tomlin let him do it all the way through. And so we got to enjoy it with our family, enjoy the journey, and that was the good part about it.
That's a cool story. All right, coming up next, we'll switch gears. Today, professional athlete intentionally hit an official? We'll get into that following this from LegalZoom.
Take the time to get your life organized with LegalZoom's estate plan bundles. If you have a family, own assets, or property, you should have an estate plan. Sound complicated? It's not. Need a will or trust? You'll work with an independent attorney available in most states who will walk through your options. They'll recommend an estate plan that offers the best solution to fit your needs. Since LegalZoom is not a law firm, you can count on efficiency and value. Get your life organized with Estate Plan Bundle at LegalZoom.com today. Don't forget to enter Mike in the referral box at checkout. That's LegalZoom.com. We'll be back after this. Mike and Mike.
Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit Geico.com.
The Super Bowl champion Ryan Clark, ESPN NFL analyst, along with Mike Golic Jr. I'm Ian Fitzsimmons, in for Senior and Greeny here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and the ESPN app. One more tweet, guys, and this one comes in from, well, never mind, it's too long of a Twitter handle, but it says, hey, some people didn't like Joe Namath's white shoes, long hair. Some people didn't like T-bowing. No matter what, some people just won't like you when talking about Cam Newton.
I think that's true. I mean, everybody has people that dislike him. I just don't know. Tebow was definitely a lightning rod. I think he had a lot of people dislike him for the wrong reasons. But you look at Joe Namath, we love that about him. We love his arrogance. We love the fact that he went out on a limb and said they were going to win that game and wear fur coats and different things like that. So I just think it's different in each case.
Well, and I think, too, he talked about here, the long hair and stuff like that. That all, again, kind of points back to the point you made about culture. You know, the long hair, the easygoing, all that stuff. That was a culture that at the time wasn't as widely accepted.
And by the way, not everybody liked Namath back then. Keep in mind, he was around Studio 54. That didn't play very well. That didn't play well back in the day. Mike and Mike is reminding you that if you want to get in touch with us, tweet us at Mike and Mike through 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Wow her this Valentine's with 1-800-Flowers, your rose authority. Order now to lock in incredible deals starting at just $29.99. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. You ever hit an official?
No,
either one of you?
I have not.
No.
I've wanted to though.
Oh yeah.
So does that count?
No, that does not count.
Okay, cool.
But there was definitely a tone of both of your voices as far as the no. But there was this one guy, this one time.
Right.
Well, it happened last night in the National Hockey League. Calgary Flames defenseman, if you're just tuning in, Dennis Weidman gets rocked on the boards, gets up. He's a little woozy, and then he gathers himself. He's skating over to his bench. He sees linesman Don Henderson, who was right there, who did not make the call on the illegal check boarding, whichever way you want to call it. Look at it. He picks up speed. You can watch it right now on ESPN2. If you're listening on ESPN Radio, Google it and judge for yourself. In my opinion, once he gathers himself, he sees the linesman. He changes course a little bit, speeds up, and then knocks the snot out of him. In my opinion, there was... the way I'm watching it again right now, without a doubt, he just all of a sudden unloads with both hands on his stick and cross-checks an official. In my opinion, watching that 400 times this morning, that was deliberate, that was intentional, and a big old suspension. It needs to happen. Your reaction, guys.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's what I said to start off with. For him to try and justify it the way he did, if anything, he needs a better excuse if he's going to go in with the lie here than the one he came up with, because it just doesn't hold up based on what you saw. But it was absolutely deliberate. And like we just kind of hinted at before, everyone's had officials that they've certainly disagreed with over the course of the game. And there's times when you want to do something like that, but you're an adult, you're a professional athlete, you have to recognize that that's not the way you do business.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can look at it. He was kind of woozy earlier.
Right when he got up.
And it wasn't like I'm concussed woozy. He was just like, okay, kind of taken aback by the hit. And he starts skating to his right a little bit and then totally changes course to go at this guy. And I've been in situations where your head is down, you pop up. The first thing you do when you pop up and you're about to run into somebody you do not want to run into, you divert your course. Either you try to step back or you skate to the side. He hits the dude with the stick. Clearly, he did this intentionally. And I know a lot of times I try not to speak to intent. So I'll say this. He sure didn't try to move out of the way. He wasn't shocked.
Extended arms, man.
He was going toward this dude. And, you know, it's hockey. Listen, guys, they let you punch each other in the face. Like, they have dudes who score no goals, get 1 assist, beats up a lot of people, and you're voted captain for the All-Star game. Why lie? Say, I was mad, I got hit, I ran the ref over. End of story. They let you beat people up anyway.
Yeah, but you can't hit an official, Coach. That's a 20-game suspension minimum by NHL rules.
But he deserves it.
Oh, no doubt. Now, here's, in case you're just tuning in, here is Dennis Weidman defending what he did.
Obviously, I took a pretty hard hit and down in the corner and had some pretty good pain in my shoulder and my neck. And I was just trying to get off the ice, and I was kind of keeled over. And at the last second, I looked up and I saw him, and you know, I couldn't avoid it. I would never intentionally try to hit a linesman or a ref or anything like that. And it was completely unintentional, and I already apologized to him. So.
Oh, man, you can apologize all you want. You can say it wasn't intentional, but, man, to me, that was intentional.
I would fail the ACT right now because I didn't know, got my head up at the last second. Now it was cold for, I skated for 5 seconds looking at him.
It's amazing.
I got it now. I see how it works.
Sports Center is brought to you by H&R Block. It's refund season. Come into your local H&R Block office and let their experienced tax professionals help you get every dollar you deserve. Your maximum refund is guaranteed. There is nothing he can say. There is nothing you can't convince me that was not intentional. He's got a big fat fine coming. He's got a big suspension coming, and it is well deserved. And the only good part of this is that Calgary stinks. I mean,
not hurting the product on the ice.
No, I mean, you're not going to miss him much, and it's not going to impact playoffs because they're, what, second to last in the West? So that's you want any positive and an awful negative, it's that. All right, coming up next hour of the program, Ron Rivera, head coach, Carolina, joins us right here on Mike and Mike, ESPN Radio, ESPN2.
Coach Love is back to transform a nation of hopeless men into hopeless romantics. And Sport Clips Haircuts has just the game plan for you, with a chance to win cool prizes, too. See the rules and enter at sportclips.com/Coach Love. No purchase necessary. U.S. only. 18 or older. Ends 2/5/16. Void where prohibited.
For 3, and he knocked it down. David Blatt is out, and Tyronn Lue is in. Now the Cleveland Cavaliers begin the push to the postseason with their new up-tempo offense. The lob for James How will it match up against the NBA's best defense? We'll find out when Kawhi Leonard, Tony Parker, and the San Antonio Spurs come to town.
Leonard blocks the shot.
NBA Saturday primetime. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern on ABC and on ESPN Radio.
Hi, I'm meteorologist Jim Cantori, and here's something everyone should know. If you're driving and you can't see clearly for 1 second at 60 miles per hour, you can't see clearly for 88 feet. And a lot can happen in 88 feet. That's why Bosch created the Icon with ClearMax 365. It's a rubber technology for longer lasting performance, not found on any other wiper blade. Because like you, Bosch cares about what's ahead.
The NBA on ESPN.